Welcome back to Wow Drama Stories, where you get all the drama from a safe distance. Let's kick off with story number 1. Opie writes, I know what it sounds like, but it's become insufferable. My brother and I, male 22 and male 24, were friends with Trinity, female 20, the bride, who we met at church. Friend might be overstating things. Trinity asked us if we could be in her wedding as a husband-to-be's groomsmen. She said that he didn't have many friends and that she also wanted him to have friends/groomsmen that would be a good influence on him. She said that we couldn't have plus ones unless the couple knew them personally or if we had been dating them for over a year. We agreed as we didn't have girlfriends at the time, and we met her fiancé Charlie, male 21, who seemed like a really kind guy. The whole time we've known Trinity, she's been very particular. After meeting Charlie the first time, we got some minor red flags. Charlie had described that they first met when he was going through a really tough time mentally and emotionally. He had been suffering from depression and anxiety, and she was there for him and helped him through it, which is great. Except now she seems extremely controlling over him. Fast forward to now, and my brother and I both have girlfriends. We've had them for around 6 to 7 months. We tried to have Charlie and Trinity meet them on a triple date, but Trinity essentially shut down and barely talked to either of them, as well as belittled Charlie the entire time, dismissing his interest when we tried to engage with him in conversation. Mind you, this is only our second time meeting him. As the wedding is drawing closer, we started a group chat with the other groomsmen who are all unhappy with Trinity. Trinity has been making more and more demands of what she wants at her wedding and making us buy expensive and ugly outfits for the wedding. Going back and saying none of us can have a plus one, regardless if we've been together for over a year or not. Refusing any idea we had for a bachelor party. Not even risky stuff, literally just go-karting, VR, mini-golf, etc. We're all unhappy, and Charlie's best man mentioned the severity of how much she is controlling Charlie's life. He isn't allowed to follow any girls on social media. He can't hang out with anyone without okaying it with her first, and is already managing his money for her benefit. We all don't think this will last, and if it does, he'll be miserable. We've tried to find a time to talk to Charlie about our worries for him, but she's been making sure none of the groomsmen can talk to him one-on-one. The wedding is a week away, and given that we barely know anyone in the wedding, we really wanted to bring our girlfriends to at least make it bearable. With the increasing demands from Trinity, the inability to have our girlfriends there, the soul-crushing we see in Charlie with this relationship, and the fact that we don't know anyone in the wedding, we just want to pull out of the wedding at this point. Would I be the a-hole? Opie, pulling out of the wedding won't make you the a-hole, but the wedding is only 1 week away, so that's a bit of an a-hole move. I kind of feel you should have done this quite a while ago. 1 week to go. That's barely any notice at all that you're going to be giving, so I don't like that part. As for Charlie, the groom-to-be, Opie, you've only met him twice from what I understand. You described your friendship with Trinity as barely friends. I don't think it's your place to try and talk him out of the wedding. It's a different thing if you were close with them, if you knew them better, if you knew Charlie better, but you don't really know either of these people very well. For that reason, I wouldn't call you the a-hole, but I really don't think this is something that you should involve yourself with any further, trying to talk Charlie out of the wedding. He's just not going to listen to you in any case, because who are you in his life? The guy barely knows you, OP. Let's get some comments before we get an update from OP. Someone comments, probably would be an a-hole, but I don't think you'd be unjustified. Quite a pickle you've gotten yourself into, my friend, and I really see your point. Charlie and Trinity would be pretty upset with you. Sounds like you might be their only lifeline in a soul-crushing world. If you're going to bail on the wedding, it's likely Charlie and Trinity would be done with you. So what would you have to lose in saying your issues to Charlie or Trinity? To this, Opie replies, I feel bad for not sticking with a commitment that I made, but at the same time, by attending, I feel like I'm advocating for a relationship that I no longer want to support. Someone else comments, not the a-hole, what you're describing is abuse. She's degrading his self-esteem by belittling him, isolating him, controlling his behavior, and taking control of his finances, plus whatever else is going on that you haven't mentioned or don't know about. If all the groomsmen are in agreement that this situation is toxic for Charlie, then I agree with another post suggesting to hold the bachelor party anyway as a way to all speak with him about it. Someone else comments, does Charlie go to that church? Can someone make a last-minute men's meeting? Is there no way to contact him? Ask a pastor to call him. To this, OP replies, we've all been trying to arrange meetings with him, but every time we get the same response of, quote, I'm hanging out with Trinity that day, unquote, or, quote, Trinity doesn't think it's a good idea to hang out right now, unquote, or responses to that degree. Let's get one more comment before we go on to the update. How about be there as a friend to the groom? Not liking her is not a good reason at this point to bail out on him. It's like this. We all end up going to marriage ceremonies we think, oh my gosh. Or ones we think nice and then later one of them does something awful by most people's standards. Affairs happen, so not meaning that. Not approving them, but not earth-shattering either. This marriage will be happening. Why make it more unpleasant for him by everyone not going? Plus, no last minute letting him know to run. Just hope soon you can support him through a divorce. And here's OP's update almost 10 months later, 11 months later. So we went, we saw, we ate, we danced, and ultimately we didn't intervene. Charlie had talked to us privately, asking for support because everyone else around him was advising him not to get married to Trinity. The guy was hell-bent on getting married to her and was facing so much backlash from everyone else that we felt bad. So we tried to be there for him, even if we didn't agree with the wedding. He just seemed like he needed a win. However, less than a year later, they, unsurprisingly, have now recently divorced. That's about it. For those that offered advice on the original post, believe me, we really wanted to intervene. We tried to arrange multiple interventions, but each time our plans would fall apart at the last second. We even considered objecting during the ceremony. At the end of the day, Charlie needed support from somewhere, and we didn't have the heart to make the situation harder for him. I think he felt trapped, but cancelling the wedding was not a viable option for him in his mind, no matter who suggested it. His whole family told him to reconsider, as well as the majority of his groomsmen. I guess it's somewhat of a happy ending, but wishing for a divorce isn't necessarily what I'd call a happy ending. However, we're just glad that they're not together anymore. That relationship was awful. Well, OP, there you go. Charlie didn't even want to listen to his own family, so I think you did the right thing absolutely by not trying to get him to call off the wedding and just being there for him. We can't control somebody else's behavior and, sometimes you just have to leave people to make mistakes for themselves and to learn from it. Let's get 3 comments before we move on to story number 2. Someone comments, divorce can definitely be a happy ending. The alternative was Charlie feeling like because he'd insisted on this wedding, despite everyone in his life telling him not to, he had to follow through with this marriage, and either never getting out or spending decades of his life unhappy because he felt unable to say, "I made a mistake." Divorce within a year is a much better outcome. Charlie has learned a valuable life lesson about love and not ignoring red flags, and will ultimately be better off, and this will help him in being more selective when dating in the future, ultimately leading him to a healthy relationship with someone that is compatible with, if this is what he wants. Someone else comments, Charlie is a grown adult that you didn't know well, and he knew people thought the marriage was a bad idea. That means there really was nothing you could do to change his mind. Abuse victims don't respond well to confrontation like that. The best way to help is to be supportive so they feel safe to come to you when they're ready to leave. It sucks, but that's the way these things go. Confronting him would likely have just made him feel more isolated. Let's get a last quick comment. Someone writes, "Hey there, it sounds like you did the right thing, even though it led you here. All you can ever do is be supportive. People have to make decisions themselves, and they can't be forced, or else it's not a decision." On to story number 2. Opie writes, "This is the situation. When my sister got married 10 years ago, she had a rule that only the wives or husbands of the guests could come along, not just girlfriends or boyfriends or other random persons. At that time, my brother was in a civil relationship with his partner of 16 years, but since they were not married, my brother wasn't allowed to bring him to the wedding. I have heard this saying in English as no ring, then no bring. This is what happened with my brother. He ended up not going to the wedding since he could not attend with his partner, and there were many hurt feelings for years to come. My brother and his partner are getting married very soon because of the referendum last year. They are together for 26 years now. Our sister is divorced from her husband, but she has a boyfriend of almost 2 years, and they have a son. My brother and his partner have invited our sister and my nephew, but not her boyfriend, because they are not married, and they say they have the same rule as she had years ago. My sister is very angry about this. I called my brother a hypocrite. He was so upset about my sister not allowing his partner to come to her wedding before, and he knows how it feels, yet he is doing the same thing here. He told me if I don't like it, I'm welcome to forget attending, but it is not for discussion. I am saying he needs to be a bigger person. He is being a hypocrite now, and I say he is just as bad as our sister was. Was I the a-hole for calling him a hypocrite, even though he refuses to have a discussion on it? My brother is 44 years, I am 40 years, our sister is 39 years. Opie, you are an a-hole, your sister is a hypocrite and an a-hole, and I wish the best for your brother. Let's get some comments. You are the a-hole. Your sister deserved this pettiness. He is nowhere as bad as she was. He was in a committed relationship and literally couldn't get married, and she didn't let his partner come. Now she wants a boyfriend of 2 years to come. If it was my wedding, she wouldn't even be invited. Someone else comments, you are the a-hole and have it totally backwards. Your sister is the hypocrite for being upset about it. She did the same thing to your brother, and he was expected to not bring his partner of 16 years because of a random rule. But now she's all butthurt that the same rule applies to her and a boyfriend of not even 2 years. She needs to get over herself, and you do too. If that rule was good enough to exclude people at her wedding, why is the exact same rule a problem now? Oh, I see. Because maybe she sees how effing stupid it is when she's on the receiving end of it? only one who isn't the a-hole here is your brother, and my petty self is very happy for him that he got the chance to throw this back in your sister's face. Someone else comments, your brother definitely doesn't need to be the bigger person at all. Your sister could have invited him and his partner of 16 years, but she chose not to. So your brother has the same prerogative, and you need to mind your own business. Did you advocate for your brother as much as you're doing now, or were you fine with it at the time? Let's get our final comment. You are the a-hole. You don't understand the meaning of hypocrite first off. You and your sister are the hypocrites. He is holding her to the same standard he was held to. You are a hypocrite for thinking your sister can enforce that rule, but your brother can't. Your sister is a hypocrite for enforcing that rule and being angry when given the same rule. Your brother is petty, but far from an a-hole. Well, that's it for this installment of Wow Drama Stories. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this and consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Until next time, wishing you a drama-free life.